I'm totally cool with that.
So I got another roll sheet here. I don't know, any of you people who were trying to get in have a problem sorting it out, or did you all leave who were trying to get in and didn't keep it up? Anyone have any reports on that particular issue? People all get in who wanted to get in without trouble from the computer and stuff? I don't know, I guess. I have a list here of people are having trouble. Let's see if you guys are, let's take a look and see if the trouble, people who are having trouble may. Let's see, there was Garcia, did you get in? I don't see you. Serrano, you got in. Martinez, don't see you. Elliston. Oh, that's you. So you're not on this list yet. So did you get it? Did you work out? Okay, no problem. This list is only as of this list is as of 9/18, so it's a week old. So yeah, so it'll be okay. Right. Hey, you forgot to put film in, Michael.
I forgot to put
I
it in.
gave you an extra film thing.
I brought it, but you didn't bring it?
Yeah, I put it in. It's okay. I brought some along. Oh, you made it?
Because I need my videotape. Well, my still video.
No, I thought that that film thing I gave you to put in, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, I did bring it. I have it.
That's okay. I got it. I got plenty of film, you know. I go to Costco, you know. I
love Costco.
You love Costco?
Way better than Sam's.
I figured this was
Better than what?
Sam's.
I didn't know there was any kind of comparison there at all, but
I like Price Club.
I like Fedco. I like Fedco. No, Costco's good. It's just it's too crowded. Too crowded. You got to wait too long at the cash registers to check out. It's a real bore. You know, you have to stand there. What?
That's why you get free samples.
You get free samples?
You can.
Maybe all those sort of people, Gray Panthers, giving out little things of peanut butter and things like that. I feel sorry for them. I feel dreadfully sorry. I hope someone pays them or something. Huh?
You gotta feel bad for the greeters at Walmart. Those are the people that have the.
Walmart.
Yeah, I
Greeters
definitely
at
do.
Walmart.
Are there greeters there?
Oh God, the little old man that's standing by the front.
Yeah, little old
So
people.
bad for these people.
They're really cute
That doesn't
though.
make you feel much. You're gonna make me. I won't be able to continue this class. You know, I feel for little creatures, animals, and cats and dogs, and all these creatures showing television without a home and stuff. But really, you know, there's flies in my bathroom that get in the door, and I have to kill them at night because they buzz too much and keep everybody up. And I got to lie and wait for them. I have to actually ask forgiveness from the creator for this thing. It makes me really, I just wish they wouldn't come in because I don't really want to kill them. It makes me feel like a murderer. Anyway, having said all that, I think I won't call this roll. Anyone want, I'll start giving out a roll sheet next time, but I see you're all here. Anyone want to know if they're on this roll sheet? Raise your hand. You can tell me your name and I'll check it out here. Anyone want to know if they're on this roll sheet? Anyone? No? No problem? Okay. Well, the people who were extra last time, you know, haven't yet got on this roll sheet if you were trying to. Ellison, Garcia, and so on. Well, Ellison you know, Garcia, and Martinez. Are you here, Martinez?
Yeah.
Yeah? So you're not on it yet. Did you get in? Did you work it out?
I have no internet access right now.
Yeah, okay, why don't you just go to the guy in the office? Just go to the guy in the office and tell him to put you in. Are you ever here in the day? No. Why don't you Wait, who's got internet access here in this class now? With
I do.
the-
Can
Oh,
I borrow my laptop?
okay, during the break, you get her
I don't know if
in,
you can do it that way now. I thought the last day came where you can't.
Oh, you always know things that I don't pay attention to. Give
But
it
she
a
can check
try.
and see if she's in.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, give it a try.
That in one. Oh,
Any other issues? Any other problems?
Before first,
I mean, as I am always in a bad mood, tonight I'm in a bad mood because of that Ahmadinejad character. That guy really put me in a bad mood. And I went to Columbia. I got my PhD at Columbia. And the president of Columbia really put me in a bad mood by inviting this character. Of course, as somebody said, he bailed himself out by asking tough questions and stuff like that. But honestly, you know, you can't, you know, of course the guy just answered flippantly with a smirk on his face. And what people don't realize, and I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings by this, I study Islamic civilization. I know how it works. And Westerners don't understand this. Now, Muslims who really are trying to be straight about things and good and decent and so on, they don't behave like this. But in strict Islamic theory, it is permitted to dissimulate to unbelievers. It is permitted to dissimulate to unbelievers. That is part of Islamic law. In every Islamic group, you don't have to, of course, but you can. And if you say, well, what do you mean by dissimulation? I'm just trying to combat some of this dissimulation. Dissimulation is just what you were seeing at Columbia University. Not done very effectively. He doesn't believe a word of what he's saying. It's dissimulation. He thinks you want to hear that. So that's what he says. And you say, well, you can't do that. An honest man wouldn't say that. He doesn't consider, you don't understand, he doesn't consider he's being dishonest. He's considered that's fair play when dealing with unbelievers. You are allowed to do that when dealing with unbelievers, and you are, as far as he's concerned, an unbeliever. I know you're looking at me with doubt. Doubt me all you want, but I tell you it is there. And so it makes me really angry when I see presidents of universities really, despite what the tough questions he asked, and my son called me, wasn't he great? Wasn't the president of Columbia University great? The other tough questions he asked that this son of mine works as an assistant for the Chancellor of Irvine, UC Irvine, who's actually been in the news lately, getting all kinds of trouble. Didn't he do a great job? He said, that's, our chancellor, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to go any further than that. But the point being, I told him, no, they're just going to cut that right out. Sure, Americans aren't going to watch it anyway, as far as I can see. Only the people who want to be convinced of something are going to watch it. The average Americans are going to watch the Monday Night Football or some other such equivalent thing. What's the latest Monday night sitcom? Huh? I don't know what's playing these days, but wife swap, husband swap. I don't know what's playing. But so they're not going to watch it. The only ones who are going to watch it are the people who are predisposed to think that way anyway. And what that's all for is to cut down and put on Eastern television, so that they'll cut the Columbia thing right out of there. They'll cut the president of Columbia right out of there. They'll just show him at Columbia University with a huge applause at the end. That's what will be shown all over the Middle and Far East. And, that's just a pure propaganda opportunity, and it's really sad to play into their hands. When the guy at Columbia says he would have had Hitler, he would have had Goebbels, he would have had, some of these people from the Third Reich in 1939. I mean, are these guys kidding me? You don't invite murderers to debate at a high-class university. You don't. So, well, how do we know he's a murderer? We know he's a murderer. We know there are hundreds of thousands of people who've disappeared. And you say, well, we're murderers too. Yeah, well, we might be murderers, but we're not trying to be murderers. There's a difference. We just might be blundering into stupid, murderous things, which you know, weak-minded people do, but it's not planned. You know, we're not trying to kill as many Iraqis as we can, just trying to sort of save as many Americans as we can, who we put into this maelstrom. Not, you know, we're not actually trying to do these things. You say, yes, we are. Okay, fine. I don't want to debate on that particular issue. That's what he would say. But in any case, you say, what are you telling us? Oh, it's just, I think professors should speak out on issues of this kind. If he's going to do that, then universities should speak out. And I went to Columbia. If I could object, I sure would. I certainly won't going to give them any money. And I don't think a lot of the contributors are going to give them money. So that might be something he'll understand. But I never gave them any money anyway. I thought they got too much money from me in the whole beginning of the whole deal. Which is why I say you guys should support this university. Because you don't really pay a lot. You say, I do. No, you don't, but not by comparison to go here. And the more money you give, as I think I told you, the more value your degree is in the eyes of the world. So if you do have money later on, not now, obviously when you get out of school, repaying loans, all that kind of stuff, but 20, 25 years down the pipeline, you should make the alumni, a lot of alumni of this place felt. And that will, you know, that will put you on a level of these other, you know, big-time clouders. So I really believe you should do. That's how Americans express their networking. You know? And that's how Stanford graduates keep on making it. That's how USC graduates keep on making it. That's how Harvard graduates keep on making it. And the Cal State system could stand up if the students would say, I'm going to support where I really enjoyed my education and got what I consider to be a fair deal. Maybe not the best deal in the world, but you didn't go to those other places. The education you're getting here is no worse than those places, I can tell you. Because those places, having gone to them and gotten degrees at Ivy League schools and everything, I can tell you, most of those courses are done by graduate assistants, period. And you're not, you say, oh, they're better courses. No, they're not. And the professors aren't necessarily better either. Because a lot of that professor deal in all those environments is networking. Who you knew and which university, who's trying to place the students and all the games that are played. You would know that, but that's how it is done. So you're doing pretty well here, actually, if you choose the courses carefully that you take and so on. So you say, oh, I didn't go there. No, well, you didn't miss out so much as you might think. That's all I can tell you. You didn't miss out as much as you might think. All right, enough of that pep talk. Another peeve of mine that I'll get off my chest. I saw that war last night, the first episode of the war. It was dreadful. I never saw anything as bad as that. To have made the Second World War into that pitiful presentation really pains my soul. And you would think so, because that guy is such a little wimp. You know, he wouldn't know bravery if it came out of his ears. You know, there wasn't a single brave person in it. He never complimented anyone on their courage. He just complimented, oh, we had dysentery. Oh, we were sick. Oh, we shot a prisoner. You know, oh, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was just one moan after another from beginning to end. Oh, the Marine guys enlisted my son, and when I wouldn't have let him go in. And I never walked on the same side of the street as him again. And my mother, you know, would have cursed him out if she saw him. She yelled, it wasn't she? You know, come on, give me a break. We lived through World War II. And, you know, everyone has bad stories to tell about camp, the army, everything, not just the way people are, you know. Misery is everywhere, but, you know, there was tremendous courage and commitment and people doing their duty and something incredible went down there. So, I wouldn't watch another episode of it. I wouldn't want to dishonor the people he's witnessing, but his narrative and the music, I have never heard such gruesome, awful, disgusting, barfable music in my life. That's all I can tell you. I don't know what period this guy thinks he was trying to imitate, but don't listen to me. See it yourself. You'll see. You can bear it. My son said he turned it off after 20 minutes. I didn't speak to him. I would have turned it off, but I wanted to see if there was anything that was going to get better. No, it just got worse, you know. Anyway. It's on every night, all week long, so it's on tonight. So I've got my two pet peeves off my chest today. We can go back to the ancient world. You must forgive me, guys. But, that's part of the suffering you have to endure. You're my only audience. I can only I don't I got a captive audience with you guys. I can only sound off with you. Okay, so we were talking about the history of Israel, right? Now you got that on tape, Michael, unfortunately.
And believe me, that's what I'm going to show everybody.
I figured. Show it to the president of the university. He'll be really thrilled to hear it. Anyway, that's free speech, they say. So, and it's a disclaimer. It may be dissimulation too. So you probably don't even know what dissimulation is. Some of you. Dissembling means that you don't really believe what you're saying. You're saying something what you think will help you or will please the ears of the person that you're saying it to, or isn't true to begin with, or in fact is false. You're dissimulating. You're dissembling. That's what that means. It's a great word, and it's got a synonym. I don't know if I'm spelling this right. Probably not. This probably is an I. I don't know. Look, I don't know which it is. E or I. See, I can't spell either. Look it up and spell check. Let me know later on. So look, we were talking about the history of Israel, and we were talking about how important the name Adam, son of man, Daniel, the fact of Daniel not being in the Jewish Tanakh, the fact of Daniel, it is in a Jewish Tanakh, but not a holy book, what's called the writings. The reason we spoke of Daniel is because of Adam is used, Adam being the son of man, coming on the clouds of heaven. I tried to tell you that I thought that formula probably showed a foreign authorship. I just read something in the Gospels today when I was looking something up for these footnotes that I'm doing. And it said, the son of man, where was it? It was, I don't know if I can find it quickly. I probably can't. But let me just see quickly if I can find it. This is my horrible marked up New Testament. Not that the New Testament's horrible, my horrible marked up one. Let's see if I can find, let's see, after Jesus is saying that you can eat anything you want. These are the things which defile a man, but eating with unwashed hands does not defile a man. And now I can't find the Son of Man. Oh well, it was in here someplace when I was just seeing it. So he referred to himself, maybe it's Mark 7, let's see. Let's see.
Ezekiel 36?
Yeah, Ezekiel 36. Of course, I also want to show you where we have quotes here of Jesus referring to himself as the Son of Man. And what I'm trying to say is there is no the Son of Man. So I don't know if Jesus would have been as what the President of Columbia say, you either don't know what you're talking about or you're uneducated or something like that. Would have been that unsophisticated to use that. Only the people who are putting those speeches down in his name, whether they're accurate or not, being no tape recorders at the time. So I just came across one of those things and I can't. I'm going to find it. Hold on a minute. Just give me a second. I can't leave that hanging out there. Let's just give me a minute here. Let's see. Well, it doesn't look like I'm going to find it. Oh, it's back here, I think. It's back here. Nah, no way. Well, I can't find one where he actually says it, not the narrator, where Jesus actually calls himself the Son of Man. I can't find it. But anyway, the reason I brought up the whole Daniel material is because it comes from Daniel, one like a son of man coming on the clouds of heaven. And man is Adam in Hebrew. So that's why I got off the tangent to show how important the concept of Adam is, aside from the whole historical presentation of the book of Genesis. Okay, so we came down to Abraham. We talk about narrowing groups of people. First you have Shemites, Japhetites, Hamites. Who are the Shemites, Japhetites, Hamites? Whose descendants are they? They're descendants of Noah. You see, there is a new generation after Noah, because in theory all mankind are wiped out, and after the flood, Noah becomes the father of all mankind, or womankind, or whosever kind you're thinking of. Let me just show you one thing here. I was talking about how Noah's sons have some problems with him. Let's see if I can find that. Here it is in 9:18. The sons of Noah went out from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the ancestor of the Canaanites. You see, right away, the author of this material shows you his or her main interest. What is his or her main interest when talking about this? The Canaanites. Why would that person be interested in the Canaanites? Just like we're interested in Mexicans or Canadians. They're the near neighbors. We're not really too interested in Aborigines in Australia or Polynesians, even though I have all admiration for Polynesians on the football field. I think they're very good football players and things like that. I see them in all these teams with the big hairdos in the back, so I'm very impressed with their strength and so on. But on the whole, you people are interested in their near neighbors. Frenchmen don't like Germans. Englishmen don't like Frenchmen, and so on and so forth. I don't like to say Mexicans because people take offense perhaps at that language, but we're talking about Mexico, so you can say that don't like gringos, or supposedly don't like gringos. They're not worried about Chileans, because Chileans are not near neighbors. So when people tell folk stories, like in the Bible or any literary collection, their main interests are the nearby people. So, okay, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, that's a very good theoretical presentation of the peoples of the earth. It isn't very good, because I'm sure the Mongols are not included in this. And I'm sure that lots of people, the Bushmen, the Eskimos, I can name probably thousands of peoples that are not included in this thing. Why, there's nothing wrong with that. This is, unless you want something to be perfect and having no imperfection or no faults, and poetry has faults. History, as I told you, is more complex. So, therefore, this is the view of the Palestinian, I don't want to use that word, Ahmadinejad used that word today, so that was all he knew. He kept saying, I just want a free election in Palestine, and so on and so forth, so I have to be careful not to sound like him here. But in any case, the Israelites, the Palestinians, the Holy Land people, let's call them the Holy Land people. This is the world around them as they saw it, and for them, the Canaanites were descendants of Ham. That is, they didn't see the Canaanites as a related people. We now see the Canaanites and the Hebrews to be related peoples in our linguistic, philological differentiation of languages. We call these peoples speaking like in Lebanon would be Canaanites, would be Semitic languages. They saw it differently. So, you see, they're interested in Ham in this story. Even though we're supposed to be interested in the three descendants of Noah. Noah was a tiller of soil, the first to plant the vine. He drank some of the wine, and while he was drunk, he uncovered himself in his tent. Oh, that's a no-no. I told you in the Old Testament or whatever, you can't uncover your sexual parts. Someone will jump on them. that is their view. You know, there is no, that's like the airport of Minneapolis there. You know, you can't show nakedness. People can't control themselves in the face of nakedness. You say, how do you know? Just read the stories and you'll see that is their view. That's why in the Middle East everyone is wrapped in clothes, you know, up to the eyeballs basically. And even though it's a hot climate, they've still got vast amounts of clothes on. They're not like Polynesians. You know, they don't believe in luxuriating in the beauty of nature. You know, in a open manner. I'll put it kind. So that's their culture. I'm not putting it down. I'm just explaining it. So here, you know, I mean, this is a terrible insult. Whoever wrote this story, this is ridiculous. I mean, I'm not. You know, how should I put it? I'm not criticizing the story. I think it's good literature. But it's ridiculous history. It's ridiculous. We just praised Noah as a righteous man in his generation. The next thing we see him drunk, lolling about on a couch with his sexual parts exposed. I mean, come on, give me a break. You know, this is not historical, you see. This is poetic. Now, as poetry, it works wonderfully. This is a great writer. Why? What's this writer doing? He's sketching in a few things a story to do what? Curse the neighbors. And I told you before, he wants the neighbors cursed. Why? They didn't like them. So what does he think of? Oh, you say, well, this is not an open-minded person. No, this is not an open-minded person, but he's a good writer. Ahmadinejad isn't an open-minded person, but he's probably a good BS artist. You know, a speech maker or something. You don't have to be open-minded to be good at something. I mean, Lena Reich's stuff and whatever her name was did fantastic Nazi propaganda films. What is it? The Triumph of the Spirit? How many have seen that thing? That's just incredible stuff. You know, so you don't have to be a nice person to do great art. Artists aren't necessarily nice people. Picasso was a creep. You know, and I can name you a lot of other artists who are not particularly nice people. You know, these people are not trying to win a star for moral excellence. They're trying to entertain. Just go up to Hollywood then and you'll see that people who entertain in an art fashion are not necessarily, you know, high, superlative, moral people. And we've seen enough indications of that we understand that. But anyway, so we like the Bible, so we don't want to hear this about the Bible. I'm trying to show you guys that we'll be critically minded about every book of the Bible, not just the Gospels, the Old Testament. If a thing is ridiculous, we'll say it is ridiculous. You say, what gives you the right to say it is ridiculous? Say it's ridiculous because Noah is supposed to be a perfectly righteous epitome of all perfection person, and here we have this ridiculous story someone told about it. So, you know, which is it? Oh, you say, oh, well, he just had a little blip. No, the writer is writing this because he wants to curse Canaan. So that's what he does. He doesn't care anymore that it's about the great hero Noah. So he was drunk. Why? Because he was tending the wine, supposedly. And he was drunk, and then he uncovered himself, and Ham, and just in case you didn't get it, he repeats it, Canaan's ancestor. So, you know, he's just rubbing it in as deep as he can here. You know, he said it once, he says it again, you know, you got it? Canaan's ancestor, you know? Saw or uncovered his father's nakedness and told his two brothers, Shem and Japheth, outside, who took a cloak, and they both put it over their shoulders and walked backward. And presumably they threw the cloak over their dad's sexual parts. So I don't mean to be crude about it, but you shouldn't teach this to 5-year-olds. You know, this is for grown-ups and so on. Okay, so I've already told you the story, but now I can vividly illustrate because I found it here. So they throw a cloak. They're good guys. So Shem and Japheth are good guys, right? Ham's a bad guy. Why? Because he didn't do this. So you say, well, I didn't see him do anything. No, we didn't see him do anything, but the writer wants you to understand that he did do something. He took advantage of his father's sexual parts. He said, how do you know that? Because they did not uncover or see their father's nakedness. When Noah woke from his stupor, he learned what his youngest son had done to him. He did something. It isn't just that he came and said, hi, my dad's there, naked. He did something to him. And you can use your imagination what the writer wants you to think. And then comes the climax. This is a Yahweh story, a really good one. It's a good story because you get it quick. Few brushstrokes and there you get to the point. Cursed be Canaan, he shall be his brother's meanest slave. So, Noah curses his son Canaan. Why would he curse his son Canaan? He must have done something pretty abominable to him. And I don't want to go any further than that. And then he added, blessed be Yahweh, God of Shem. So Yahweh, Yud-He, Vav-He, Jehovah, is the God of the Semites, God of Shem. Let Canaan be a slave. Third time, fourth time, Canaan's out. Well, I thought it was Ham who did this. Let Canaan be a slave. May God extend to Japheth. May he live in the tents of Shem. So Japheth lives in Shem's tents. May Canaan be his slave. This is a song. This is an old song. An old poem, an old ditty, which is why my Bible presents it here as a poem, and I like that. And then the abstract narrator cuts in, and the flood, and after the flood, Noah lived 350 years, and all Noah's life lasted 150 years, then he died. That's the same narrator as, it was the evening, it was the morning of the first day. That's the abstract, ceremonial, theoretical, non-storytelling narrator, which is a different storyline according to scholars, maybe not according to religious-minded people, that's up to you to decide, than the others. But look at that. Let's go back to this story. You see, you know how you hear a song, I don't know if I can think of one. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, with the girls. So you may have heard that song when you were young, but you didn't know the historical context. So you'd have to go back and back and back and find out where the word Yankee come from, what does it mean, and there was Captain Washington upon a great big stallion, a giving orders to his men, I think there was a million. So you remember the song. Right? That's 200 years later, and I can still sing the song, and most of you can too. And so I know, for instance, if that's accurate, that song was written in the French Indian War when volunteers were coming into the British camps, because Captain Washington, he was a general in the Revolutionary War. He was only a captain in the French Indian War, so et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can read into it, but someone may then want to put it in historical context, so he'll write a story around it. So I think that the writer here is writing a story around this. I would say, if I were to, like in the Antique Roadshow, if I were to estimate how much this is worth, what period this is from, and so on and so forth, I would say that this is written sometime around the period of David. Why? Because I know, even if you don't know, that the main descendants of Japheth at this time were the Hittites. And we know that one of David's chief champions was Uriah the Hittite. And we know that in that period there were Hittites serving in David's army. So here we have, I would think that we have an alliance of Hittites and Shemites in the Davidic period, which reflects something of what's going on here, that the Japhetites are living in Shem's tents, or are allied to them under their, under a kind of client relationship at this point. And there are people like, I don't know if you saw that thing on television the other night on KOCE, really good, on the Druze in Israel. It was an hour program on the Druze. So I don't even know who the Druze are. Well, if you get a chance, it is incredibly good. I'd already seen it. My daughter sent me a copy of it from New York because she was involved. The organization she works with knew the producers and they gave them an advance copy. But in any case, I just saw by accident on television the other night on KOCE, and the Druze are people, an Arab people, in Israel, Palestine, who side with the Israelis because the Muslims persecute them. And they join the Israeli army, and they take a higher percentage of casualties than the Israelis. They're all Israelis, Jews, do. And, they go into high rank, and all their young people have to serve in the army by the request of their elders. That's very clever, because that means all their young people get the most advanced military training. So I showed this one guy who's a Drew's F-15 pilot, and they were in the cockpit with him. It was incredible footage. So that would be an indication of a person in the other person's tents, an alliance, et cetera. So that would be the kind of thing we're talking about here 3,000 years ago. Why am I saying this? Because when I say that we're getting narrowing groups of people. At this point, the narration is following Shem's descendants. So that's where the word Semites come from. But you have to understand that Semites, that Shemites is a modern academic scholarly term developed in the late 19th century or so, because they were grouping the different languages of the earth, and they wanted to do it in the family of languages. So they got Semitic languages from Shem. Then the word anti-Semitic came into being. It's a very modern term, anti-Semitic. It only goes back to the late 1800s. It's a new term. You won't find it used in the 1700s. You'll never see a reference to it in the 1600s. So it follows academic scholarship. So, but you see, their grouping of the languages doesn't precisely accord with this situation here. I don't have time to show that. But in any case, Shem is obviously the focus of the interest of this author. And of course, that story is a nasty story about neighbors. We know what our neighbors do. What do our neighbors do? They'll even sink so low as to bugger their fathers or their mother or whatever. I don't want to be crude, but that's what the story says. And as I know that Shem, I know that if we know anything about Shem, or rather Noah, and I don't think we know very much, if anything, that he didn't do this, and his sons didn't do this. This is poetry. But it's a good poetry. It shows you the period and how the people felt. So that's why I told you, poetry is truer than history for the people who read it. Because the history is too complicated for anyone to either remember, understand, or even know. It's bad enough now when we're deluged with information. It's impossible then. All you can do is take the kernel out and put it in an epic poem of some kind in those days. Through rhyme, meter, abstract expression, good storytelling, that's what we're doing. Okay, so the Bible then follows this preferred line down, Shem, and so we get, if you want, most of this is in Genesis. If you notice how it goes, here is the patriarchs after the flood in chapter 5. And this goes right down a whole list. Adam was 130 years old and became the father of sons and daughters. And Adam lived for 800 years after the birth of Seth and blah, blah, blah. Seth was 105 years. This repeats previous material. Became the father of Enosh. Enosh was 90 years, became the father of Kenan. Kenan was 70 years, and so on. Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, and all the way down to Noah. Then from Noah, after the flood, we come down to Noah and his sons in chapter 9 and 10. These are the sons of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and it gives them. And then we come down in chapter 11. These are Shem's descendants. So we're only interested in following Shem. Shem was 100 years old, became the father of Raxpat. 2 years after the flood, after the birth of Raxpat, Shem lived 500 years, became the father of sons and daughters. When Raxpat was 35 years old, he became the father of Shelah. After the birth of Shelah, Raxpat lived 403 years, became the father of sons and daughters. He only follows one name in every generation. He's running down through history. Where is he running to? Where is the narrator running to? Abraham, David ultimately, and others. But Abraham, not just David, Joshua, and others. So it's really Abraham. He's racing down to Abraham. Why? Abraham's the person he cares about, really. He's running down to Abraham as fast as he can go. He's got, he's decreasing the amount of the years, 900, 800, 700, 600 years, so down to a normal lifespan, or quasi-normal, and 120 years for Moses and some other years. I forget how old Abraham is. Terah's life, Abraham's father, was 205 years. He died at Haran. And then chapter 12, the Lord said to Abraham, you always to leave your country, your family. We're back. That was a priestly, Elohist line that I just read you. Chapter 12 is now yours. I told you this is like a conflation of several text lines which we can recognize. One is an abstract, sort of ceremonial, what we call Elohist, because the name of God is Elohim. This gentleman was calling Elohim, or someone else in the room was calling Elohim. In any case, Hashem, often people who are religious will refer to it as, they won't pronounce even Elohim, because they have great respect for that. And Yahweh, I told you, Jews don't pronounce, they only say Lord. This would be considered a huge impiety here, and actually a blasphemy to even have written YHWH in the text in this way with vowels. This would be considered totally blasphemous. Of course, we're beyond that, so, blasphemy of blasphemy is too bad. We're 2,000, 3,000 years later, we can't worry so much about this. So now we're getting into Abraham's story. So when we get into Abraham's stories, we're into the Hebrews. So the Shemites come down to the Hebrews. Then the Hebrews will have Ishmael, Esau, others who are part of their line, genealogical line. Remember, who's Esau? Jacob's brothers. Does the Bible follow Esau's descendants? It just gives them. But does it follow them in stories? No. It's not interested in Esau's descendants particularly. It lists them. But it's not going to tell you any stories about, I don't know any stories about Esau's descendants. You?
Yeah.
Which one? Tell me.
It says that he's the father of Rome.
Not in the Bible. That's the Talmud. Oh, that's not the same.
It's not.
No,
It's
that's
just a
not.
continuation.
No, that's an oral tradition of, it's like saying, I read Dante, and now I'm going to comment on Dante 1,000 years later, and my commentary on Dante is the same as Dante. No, it isn't the same as Dante. That's one of the problems. You have to, if you're in a university, in a religious environment it is, but in a university it isn't. It's the same as saying, I don't want to get into the Christian side of things either. There'll be claims on the Christian side. This is a rabbinic claim that you have. It's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that it's not a university claim, not an academic claim, because I just said, how does the Bible tell you Edom is Rome? That's a Talmudic code that we know, Esau is a Talmudic code for Rome, because for them Esau is a sinner. And Rome was a great sinner, and they had to have code to protect themselves from retribution. But that's not here written in the Bible. That's not in Genesis anywhere. You can go and look as deep as you want, but you won't find that anywhere in Genesis that Esau is Rome. Esau is Edom, the Edomites, the Edomians, the Herodian family, as we'll later find out, and others when we do this, but not wrong. I don't mean to be cruel. What I'm trying to say is that the Bible follows its blessed line. They're only interested in the blessed line, the chosen line. That's where we get the chosen people. So when we get down to Abraham, we do give, in a polite way, the descendants of Ishmael, the descendants of Esau. All these are laid out. Midian, Jethro. By the way, the Druze claim that Jethro is their prophet. Jethro is Moses' father-in-law, and so on. So the Midianites, from whom Jethro is supposed to be a high priest, somewhat laid out, but even Jethro's aren't even laid out. It just stops. So the Bible is always narrowing its focus. So here, you have to. Otherwise, you're going to have a book of 5 million pages if you want to do the history of the whole earth. We're doing the history of the Hebrew Jewish people here, basically. History and culture of the Hebrew Jewish people. So, I don't know if this helps you, Abraham would be around 2500 BC. Somewhere between 2500 and 1700 BC. What we have in those stories reflects what we know about the life at that time. And the stories reflect something of that life. I already told you last time that I thought Abraham had a lot to do with David. And if you look back, some of the stories about David and the Philistines You see Abraham has to do with Philistines too, if you look at the Abraham stories. But David's 1,000 years, at least 1,500 years after Abraham. And you see, there were no Philistines in the country in Abraham's time. We know that from archaeology. We know when the Philistines came in from Egyptian texts. We know when the Sea Peoples invaded Egypt, about 1200 BC, around the time of the Iliad and the Odyssey, when probably the eruption, not at Krakatoa, but where? Santorini, Thera. How many have seen television programs about Atlantis and the eruption of Thera? How many have seen pictures of the island? Because it's a big vacation spot now. I mean, I've been there in a boat, but I never stopped. Have you seen it? It's incredible. It's a huge sort of, what do you call it, lagoon, which is really the crater of a volcano that erupted. I mean, like a huge eruption like Krakatoa. I mean, Polynesia is a bit like that too. I've been to Bora Bora and places like that, and you see that those are really another crater of there's a lagoon of islands there. That the center was, you know, a huge eruption, and there's several places like that. I can't offhand remember some other ones like that. Huh? Well, if you think of one, tell me. But Santorini is obviously what kind of name? Christian name, because it's Saint. I don't know what Torini, who Torini is, but anyway, it was called Thera. I guess that's Saint Thera. I don't know how the name is. Thera, the island of Thera. How many have seen the paintings from Santorini, the island of Thera? How can there be paintings from there? You've seen them? They're just beautiful. I don't know if I can even describe them to you. They're so beautiful. How would they get them? They dug them out of the lava. They dug them out of the lava, the murals on the walls. These people were splendid. I mean, life was so delicate. The flowers, the plants. I mean, take a look, even if you get it, even on your internet, Google thing. Just look at some of the paintings from there. I mean, they're just absolutely marvelous. And they look a lot like Cretan, not Cretan, but from Crete, which is an old civilization of that time, and Mycenae too. There are paintings from Mycenaean civilization and Crete wall paintings that were dug out too. But the ones from Thera are really just splendid. We haven't even dug that whole place out yet. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of acres, if you want, buried in ash that we haven't even, no one's touched yet. That can be dug out for the next, 500 years, and they'll never, finish it. That's where people think the legend of Atlantis came from. But why am I mentioning it? Because some of this movement could have been through conquering northern peoples who in Greek civilization were called Dorians, who seem to have supplanted some of the previous ones in the Greek mainland. But a lot of it could be connected with these tidal waves and eruptions and tremendous cataclysms associated with that Santorini eruption. No one knows exactly when it was, around 1400 BC. That seems to have set a lot of people in motion because, in Thera, there are no human remains there. And they have pictures of their harbor, of their boats, and they all got out. They knew it was coming, they all left. They all got out on boats and things like that. There are no human remains in Santorini that they've come upon yet. If you go to Naples and you look at the eruption of Vesuvius, there's whole areas there that people were huddled against the side of the bay, against walls, and they're literally buried in those places. Some of the places have hundreds or even thousands of corpses that have been buried in the lava and so on and so forth. Those people didn't get out. When did Vesuvius erupt? See, we're going to have it in our picture here. Look at mine, and she's not here at the moment, but Ron's genealogy that we put in the back of the James book. You'll see that some of the descendants of the Herodian family were killed in the eruption of Vesuvius. So that happened in our historical period here. That'd be around, I think, 76 AD. around 76 AD, right after the fall of the temple. You say, oh, it's retribution for the fall of the temple. Maybe, I don't know if it's retribution or it's. But some of the Herodian descendants, I don't have it in front of me which ones, were killed. I think it was, you know that genealogy I was just telling them that Ron and I did and Ron, improved at the back of the James book. Some of the Herodians were killed in the eruption of Vesuvius. You don't remember which ones they were, do you? I think it's Drusilla and Felix's offspring. You say, well, who are Drusilla and Felix? But in this case, you will know who Drusilla and Felix is and are, and I hope that you never forget it. They appear in the book of Acts, in case you're familiar with Christian history, and they talk very friendly with Paul. They are on very, how should I put it, not intimate, but friendly terms, amicable terms with Paul. And they are the Herodian, they're the Roman governor and the Herodian royal family daughter, whose name is named after Roman archetypes, children of Augustus, but her name is Drusilla. And Josephus will cover her marriage to Felix. Felix, as Josephus said, crucified so many people in Palestine that there was not enough wood for the crosses or space to set them up. He's a sweetheart. Real sweet guy. He's treated very kindly in Acts. He says to Paul at one point, or maybe it's some of the others in the conversation, Paul, a little more and we become Christians. Or you're ranting and raving, Paul, but if you keep it up, maybe we'll become Christians too. Yeah, right, I believe that. In any case, Drusilla had divorced her husband by a previous marriage, who had been forced by her father to circumcise himself in order to marry her because her father didn't want her to marry someone who wasn't at least making a show of being Jewish. And Josephus comments on that and said, even though divorce was forbidden at that time, and the person that helped her make this marriage to the Roman governor, Felix, who was one of Nero's henchmen in Palestine, was Simon Magus, the famous Simon Magus. And he said, how do you know all this, Professor Eisenman? Oh, it's all in Josephus. And we're going to read Josephus, so you'll know it too by the time we're done. And this is information that really is critical and important information. So I think it's their descendants who are killed in the eruption of Vesuvius. Interesting. So and there are evidence of human death, a large number. That's in the Bay of Naples, in case you're not familiar where Vesuvius is. The Bay of Naples, south of still active. Okay, so I think the people in the Mediterranean were set in motion by the Tira eruption. Some of the 12 plagues of the Exodus event in the Moses story may have been engendered by the memory of that experience and its effect in Egypt. All the weird things, including tidal waves and everything else, which would have hit Egypt as a result of that, whether it occurred within the framework of the Hebrew Exodus or not, or the memory of the poet, I'm not prepared or can say. So anyway, the Philistines, we know, by the archaeology and everything else, were a Mycenaean people. You say, who are the Mycenaeans? The Mycenaeans, if you've read Greek tragedy, were the people of Agamemnon. Mycenaean. You look at a map and you'll be able to see it, but it's in the Peloponnesus. And I don't even know who Agamemnon is. Well, you should. Not for my class, but for your own cultural sophistication. You should know who Agamemnon is. It's a byword in Western culture. It's from what series of materials that you get these people? Homer, the Iliad, and Greek tragedy. Particularly Aeschylus. These are great people to read. Read them. Don't read Madonna or somebody. Don't listen to rap. Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, Homer. It's not so difficult. You can do it all in the summer easy, and you'll enjoy it and never forget the rest of your life. When I was a freshman in college, you know, I think college is on the bull, the way you people do too, but I must say, they made me read in my freshman year. I was an engineering student, I had to take liberal arts subjects for, you know, general GE distribution. They made me read Greek tragedy in one of the literature courses. It was like mind-blowing for me. That's all I can tell you. It was so beautiful, so beautiful. I'd never read anything from an ancient period as beautiful as that, I thought. I think Hebrew prophets rival that, but I'd never read anything as beautiful as that. So all I can tell you is that you won't regret it. It's only 3 or 4 plays by Aeschylus that survive, 4 or 5 by Sophocles, 10 or 15 by Aeschylus. That's it. Not by Aeschylus, by Euripides. And of course the Iliad and the Odyssey. They're not quite as good as the Greek tragedy, I don't think the Odyssey's that good. You know, it's cute, but I don't think it's great. The Iliad is pretty great, yeah.
Is Agamemnon the guy that led
The war against Troy, yeah, according to the Homer. But, you know. But those wars in northern Troy, those Mediterranean, Troy is supposed to be a Hittite civilization fortress. Plus the Hittites were in control at that point of Asia Minor, what we now call Turkey. They were pushed south somehow by all this. The remnants of them ended up in like Davidic allies somewhere in Georgia or someplace. And that's where these poems come from. Anyway, I can't do all of history for you, but I just tell you that that's what you have remnants of here. So, Abraham's stories have Philistines in them. And we're talking about Ahmadinejad and Palestinian history. Well, I already told you in Arabic, Palestine is Philistine. In other words, in Arabic, they are calling the land of the Philistines. The Palestinian in Arabic is Philistine. The Philistines. Well, that's, of course, ludicrous, because they're not Philistines. Well, they may be. They don't think they're Philistines anyway. Culturally, they may be, I don't know. But genealogically, they don't think they're Philistines. They think they're sons of Ishmael. But I told you, everything gets confused when you get to real history. So I can't tell you what the natives of the coast of Lebanon and Palestine really are. But in any case, the name Palestine became applied in the Roman period after the Jewish presence was obliterated in the war against Rome, 66 to 70, and 132 to 136, the Bar Kokhba uprising. At that point, the area was called Palestina by the Romans, harking back to the Greco-Roman Latin tradition of the Greeks on the coastline. The Greeks landed on the coastline in around 1100 BC. After the Egyptians defeated them in a naval battle, which we have records of in Egyptian wall paintings under Ramesses III. And he's got actual pictures of the battle with the sea peoples. We can see their uniforms, their feathered headdresses, their crazy, wild-looking crazies. They defeated the Egyptians defeated them at sea with bows and arrows and ships off of the coast of Egypt, and they went up the coast of Palestine and settled there, a lot of them. And that is the Philistines later in the Davidic period, the period of the Davidic monarchy, 1900 BC, and then the divided monarchy later on, when the Philistines are pretty successful. The Philistines are technologically superior to the Hebrews. The Hebrews and the Israelites are hill peoples in Palestine. We know from archaeology that the Philistines are what we call Iron Age people. The Israelites and the Hebrews are Bronze Age. That is, they've only mastered bronze metallurgy. They haven't yet mastered iron metallurgy. The Mycenaeans have mastered iron metallurgy. That's why they have chariots. They have iron wheels on the chariots that can run up and down the flat areas of the coast. That's why David can't be very successful against them, and Saul, and so. Okay, so that's a later period. But anyway, So we're coming down now to the Abraham period. Again, we have stories about Abraham, which I said, I don't know how historical Abraham is. There is one story about Abraham in the Bible, in case you're interested, which I think is historical, and the only actually really kernel that they have to work off of. I don't know if I can find it for you, because my Bible is so completely marked up, I can't ever find anything. It is, oh God, where is it? I can't find it. It's when Abraham pursues Lot's, where Abraham, oh, here it is, chapter 14, the campaign of the 14. Chapter 14, 1 to 16. That is clearly totally different from the rest of Genesis. The names are totally different. You don't have a Bible, so you can't see it in front of you, but if you had it in front of you, you can see that that is totally different than the rest of Genesis. Look at this. It was in the time of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Ario, king of Elasar, Bera, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shembaber, king of Zeboim, and the king Bela, that is Zoar. None of these names are ever spoken of before or after. And the precision of this is very high. They defeated the Rephaim at Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim and Ham, the Emim and the... But all this is in like 3 or 4 or 5 lines. And at Ham, the Emim and Kiryataim, the Horites and the mountain districts of Seir there, as far as El Paran, which on the edge of the wilderness, wheeling around, they came to the spring of judgment, Kadesh, conquered all the terror of the Amalekites, also the Amorites who lived at Hazazon Tamar, then the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah. This is old even when the narrator puts it down here. This is old. This is very old. Even the narrator doesn't understand it. He's just recording it, or she's just recording it. Now, you won't get this in a church or a synagogue because they're not interested in studying the Bible historically. They want spiritual inspiration and order in their modern lives. They're not interested in the period then for accuracy. They think they are, but they really aren't to any great extent. Because if you saw this, you could see, even I at Dumbo, at little training when I first started hearing these things, could see this is not like any other text in all of Genesis and the rest of the Bible. Why? Presumably it's from a stele. What's it? I told you the other was an old song. What's a stele? It's an old stone marker with a commemoration plaque on it. This would be a commemoration plaque of some kind for some event that happened even way before the person who's writing here knows about it. And I think this is actually the kernel of Abraham's story, because at the end of this he says, line 13, a survivor came to tell Abram the Hebrew, who was living at the oak of the Amorite Mamre, the brother of Eshcol and Aner. These were allies of Abraham. Oh, we wouldn't have known it except for this. Abram is called Abram the Hebrew. Well, that's the first reference to anyone called Abram the Hebrew in the Bible. We have Abraham and stuff. Abram the Hebrew, whoever called him that? So the poets fill in the rest. The Hebrew people, the Abraham stories, and so on, some of which may be based on folk memory, some on something else, some on David's experience. I don't know what they're all based on, and they're not that many. But this is real. I mean, real from whatever period it was. So there was a person called Abram the Hebrew. I'm sure of that, just from this year. And he was called the Hebrew. I'm fairly sure of that too. Okay? Just from looking at this in a literary critical manner. Like these things. and Abraham came back after the defeat of Chedorlaomer and the kings at his side and so on and so forth. I mean, these names come out of space, as it were. There's no description who they are, what their background is, where they came from, so on and so forth. That's where you get real history, and it's not poetry, see, because it's crappy poetry. Doesn't even read well. It's a newspaper clipping from that time, or a commemorative clipping shortly thereafter. And so that's a really story. Okay, but the stories about Abraham, I don't know. So the stories about Abraham take us down through the next narrowing bit. Jacob's children who get a name change, Israel. And I told you about that last time because Israel comes to be the name of the northern kingdom. Jacob, the southern grandchild of Abraham, becomes Israel as far as the northerners are concerned. The stories, again, coalesce, if you want to call it that. So, after Israel, we're dealing with the sons of Israel, the Israelites. So we've got the Shemites, the Hebrews. Israelites are Hebrews, but not all Hebrews are Israelites. All Israelites are Hebrews, but not all Hebrews are Israelites. There's lots of other groups in the Hebrew stories that we heard who are not necessarily sons of Israelites. So we narrow down to Israelites. That will reflect a period certainly after David or around the time of David when the northern kingdom breaks away. Now how long the Israelites were called Israelites, I don't know. But in the Moses stories, you see, Jacob's son Joseph ends Genesis. We then get Exodus, which is the Moses stories. So in the Moses stories, the Exodus from Egypt stories, when Israelites talk to each other, they call themselves Israelites. When outsiders like Egyptians talk about them, they don't know the term Israelite in the story. They call them Hebrews. So to outsiders, the Israelites are Hebrews, and insiders, they're Israelites. I can't go any deeper than that. I can tell you one quick thing about that. What do scholars think the name Hebrew really comes from? Habiru, right. There was a term that pops up in all ancient texts in many languages that is either, I don't know if their pronunciation is correct, if they're only hoping they got it. Habiru, I think in Egyptian text, Apiru in Mesopotamian text. And it is a reference to a class of rootless outsiders who are inhabiting the edges of settled life and desert. They can't go deep into the desert yet. I think I told you that last time. If I didn't, why can't they go deep into the desert yet? They don't have the camel. Now we have camels in these stories here, but almost all scientists, I don't know if it's true or not, say that the camel was not domesticated until around 1000 BC. And the difference then, according to scholars, between an Arab and a Hebrew is the difference between a donkey and a camel. You can laugh. The camel made it possible to go into the deep desert. We don't get Arabs here yet. Arabs, the Job stories, what you see. It's the first mention of Arabs in the Old Testament. We get pre-Arab tribal names, Midianites, Moabites, Ammonites,